Sorry. All right. So yesterday we got into the idea of demand. What are the two pieces we have to have for something to be demand? Desire and the ability, right? Otherwise, it's just a dream, right? We have to have those two pieces. We talked about the idea of price, markets, law of demand. Who in here dealt with some sort of demand issue yesterday? Or you went out and get something to eat, or you had to buy something for lunch, or a snack after school, or you bought dinner. Anybody have a purchasing issue yesterday? Anybody want anything yesterday? Right? Could you have afforded it while you wanted it? Then there's demand, right? Who in here bought something that was probably a little bit too expensive or more expensive, but you didn't care because you really wanted the item anyways? Right? Can you tell us what it was?
It was a dress.
Okay. Probably a little bit on the higher side, but it was so nice. Right, we're actually going to get to that today. Like, why would I do that? If the law of demand states as things get expensive, I buy less of it. Why would I still buy it? Right? So we'll touch on that a little bit today. I had somebody in my first period class was talking about dinner last night. They bought a pizza, but it was the more expensive one. But they loved that pizza, so they were willing to spend more money. That deals with an aspect of demand. So we got through the curve itself. Substitution effect, income effect. Did anybody think of a version of this when I was talking about the Big Mac thing yesterday? Like, did anybody have anything in their life that's been like that, where like you had it at first, and then as time went by, it wasn't as nice, and then eventually you were like, I want something better, and you were. Anybody volunteer their thought as to what theirs was? Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the first aquarium that I got was a 5-gallon, and then I moved up to a 40-gallon,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's you just I need
More,
another one. Like I need a bigger one now.
Yeah. Have you considered salt water?
So I wanted to, but then there's like the whole price thing, and then
Yeah.
when I go off to college, like there's no one to take care of something that complex.
Yeah. That's definitely a law of diminishing marginal benefits, right? So at first, it's great, I like it, and then you're like, I want something bigger. Right? And I used to have a fish tank too, and we had a small little. My sister started out with it was a gumball machine one, just a small, it was just a little fish.
Yeah.
It was cute. We liked it and had a little light, and we would watch it.
Well, then there's also like the little pieces to it. Like there's do I want to move up to a plant tank, or do I want to do something else with it, or do I want to get like more of a canopy for the top, or even just the lid and then the filter.
Oh yeah, but there's always
something better.
And then eventually you get to the point where like, this is I've got all these extra pieces. I should just move to the better version and move on to that. So, and again, this is everything, every single piece of our life. I had to laugh too because my girlfriend works for Apple, and she was talking to me through the Apple 13 or the iPhone 13, and I talked with you guys a little bit about that, the small little changes. And she said as much as she wanted to, it was very difficult for her to push the 13 because she's like, there's really not that much of a change. The camera is a little bit better, and the battery is a little bit thicker. But she's like, in reality, you don't use the phone that much. It's supposed to be like 13 or 14 hours of charge on the one battery. The new battery was going to get you 14 or 15 hours of charge. It's like, woo. But she said the line was still out the door, and they had people waiting. And now they're out. They have to wait. Like if you want to buy an iPhone, at least at that store, it's like a month wait. And with the supply chain issue, we're talking even longer. Right? So yeah, this is a constant. We're always dealing with that. 5 Big Macs. And I showed you guys that video. Now we're going to get into our graphing. Now the graphing, I tend to like the graphing because one, we get to talk a little bit more as a class and see interaction, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But the other thing is you have to see how demand moves or adjusts based off of situations, right? So there's a couple things we need to be aware of when we graph is that our graphing is only accurate for one very specific set of conditions. So today, as I'm talking to you guys, if I'm in the middle of a graph, I will probably not even do that. So if I'm looking at the clock and I'm kind of hesitating to go into the next graph, it's because If I start asking questions today and I come back tomorrow to do the same graph, it's going to be different. Things will have changed from today to tomorrow. Especially if I was to talk about like who in here is already eating lunch. You guys haven't eaten lunch yet, right? Who goes to lunch next? Okay. So if I were to talk about food today, right now, you guys might be super, super hungry. But tomorrow, if I brought up the same exact situation, you may have had a bigger breakfast, and you're probably, or you could be stuffed, or you had a big coffee, and yada, yada, yada. So things will have changed tomorrow. So when we look at a graph, I always tell people it's like a snapshot, a picture, that moment in time, what's happening in this picture, right? Nothing before, nothing after. In that second, what's happening? We can look at that and we can diagnose it and figure it out and play around with it. The other thing is, I can't predict changing market conditions. If you ever hear an economist tell you that they can tell you what's going to happen, they're lying to you. They can tell you the trends and they can tell you what has happened and what they think may happen. I can't predict what's going to happen with that supply chain out in California. I can guess. I can think of various ways that things might adjust. Matter of fact, was it this morning? My brain kind of went down the economic road. Has anybody ever heard of? Anybody know the Office Ladies? Anybody ever heard of the Office Ladies? So it's who here knows the TV show The Office? Okay, so two of the girl that plays Pam and the girl that plays Angela, they have a podcast called The Office Ladies, and they go back and they watch the episodes and then they talk about the episodes and tell everyone like, oh, in this episode we had this happen and this happened. They tell all the backstory. And what they do is they run a deep dive. Has anybody ever heard that phrase? It's becoming a newer one recently. So, like if there was something in the show, they did a deep dive into that and they researched. So this morning, I went on a shallow dive in my own brain because I'm thinking to myself, with all of the supply chain stuff and with all of the job availability and the minimum wage going up and up and up and up and up, not by government standards, but because companies are like, I need people to come in. The inspiration for this thought was the KFC in Brunswick, right by the strip club. Right, so I go to Strongsville in the morning. This is a long story. I'll get to my point here in a second. I was driving home, and from Strongsville, I was going on Pro Road. On the left is that KFC, and my brain went, "Why is that KFC still open?" That was my initial question. I couldn't think of why, because it even says on there, "Open till 7." And I was like, "Why are they even trying? Why don't they just shut that one down and go to the brand new one that's over by 71? That's the newer version anyways. Let's get rid of this old one." Are they really making enough money? Which then led me to the thought of they're going to have to, and again, this is the pure market, remember market system fixes this own situation rather than the government stepping in. If I'm the owner of KFC and I'm losing money and I have 2 stores, what's my practical step? Get rid of the one store and consolidate and open up the other one, right? I don't need to, I'm gonna get rid of it. So in my brain, I all of a sudden went down the road of, we are going to have to, or the companies are going to either go out of business because they can't afford minimum wage, the cost of labor. And so you're going to have less businesses. And then when you guys go look for jobs, you're going to have less opportunity. And the market will have kind of figured it out unless the government steps in and gives these companies like subsidies, which is like grants of money to help them out. Because then there's a false sense of security. All of that to say, there's no predictions of what's going to happen. Listen to President Biden, that's fine. Listen to Jen Psaki, that's fine. They can tell you what they think is going to happen, right? No, they can't tell you what's going to happen. So again, when we look at the graphs, there's no prediction. It's what's going on right now. The 2 concepts I talked about yesterday, demand, very open-ended. Quantitative demand, that's what we're going to focus on. It's going to be all of the specifics at each price, who will be involved. So to give you guys an actual example, let's go ahead and do this together. Okay, so we have on the left-hand side is your demand schedule. Now I'm telling you right now, there is a question because I just put the quiz together. This is your demand schedule. All that is the information. It's the chart that provides you everything. This over here is your demand curve. Okay, and that's literally because there's going to be a big curve on the page and it's going to show you our demand. All right, so go ahead and write this down on the left-hand side. And yes, we're going to see these numbers again on the. Does your chart have the numbers on it already? Right, so you're going to have to write those in as well. But you can see right here, this is that the negative relationship, the inverse relationship. As the prices are really, really high, no demand. As the prices get super, super cheap, all of a sudden people start jumping on. And sometimes people jump on just because it's cheap. I've had many, many people. Who in here has ever bugged their parents enough when you were little at the checkout line to get the little mini Rubik's Cube? Or the little, whatever the toys are, the checkouts? You guys know why they put those there?
So you don't have a choice.
It's an impulse buy. It's I don't need this, but I'm right here, and I'm already spending this much money. I might as well buy this too. It's also a place where they know they have you trapped for a few moments and you're stuck, right? Unless you're doing that self checkout. And even there, actually, now that I think about this, in my head I've done a Giant Eagle in Brunswick. The checkout lines, they have all the candy, they have the beef jerky, they've got the magazines, they've got the sodas, and they've got the energy drinks, because you're stuck there for a few minutes. But if you go to the self-checkout, they have a couple, but not as much. And then if you're at the scan and go one, which is the one I typically do, there's nothing there, because it's fast and you move up. The Giant Eagle in Medina, I just went to last week because I was driving past. They have 2 of those scan and go. And they have like nothing at the scan and goes, but the self-checkout, a couple things, and then all the lines. Impulse shopping, they can get you stuck, and therefore you'll tend to buy things. Anyways, so for this, if we look at the next step, all we do is just plot the points, just like you guys would in math class. Right? So $6, according to this little mini poll I did over a couple years ago. Not many people at this point in time, a 20-ounce beverage, not so much, right? Who in here does the venti at Starbucks? Yeah.
Big one?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. So who in here has seen the movie Role Models? Because that's one of the little blurbs in there is they go to Starbucks and they say, what would you like? And he says, I would like a large coffee. And she's like, do you mean a venti? He's like, no, a large. And she's like, venti is large. He goes, no, a venti is 20 ounces. A large is a large. A tall is a large. And then he says, even grande in Italian is large. But and he just goes off on this lady behind the counter, and she kind of retorts to him. But it's a funny little skit. But anyways, 20 ounces, $6. You run into that at some of the coffee joints. $5, get a little bit more okay with it. All right, $3.50. Now we start to get in the realm of a little bit more acceptable. Does anybody by any chance remember when the 20-ounce beverages used to be 16-ounce bottles? They used to be 16 ounce, and then they moved them to 20. Who in here remembers when 16-ounce bottles of soda were $1.05, $1.08? When I first started working here in 2000, a 16-ounce bottle of pop was $1.06. And it was like, if you were in Medina, it was $1.06. If you were in Cuyahoga County, it was $1.07 because of sales tax. So everything was $1. It's great. Now it's what, $1.85 for a 20 ounce. So you get a little bit more pop or soda or whatever you want to call it. Then $2.25, we get some more, so on and so forth. And this part always confuses me. When you were little, who in here likes to connect the dots? Like just follow the numbers? Good. Same thing in economics. Just connect the dots. Lots of people put the dots on the page and they leave it. Connect the dots. Because if I were to ask you how many people were interested at $1.75, you could come over here and go, okay, about 15 people. Right? So it's the whole curve that sets the trend for us. Okay. Good. All right, you guys ready for the next one? Now, this goes to what Shrey and I were talking about regarding that dress. There are things that will adjust our demand that have nothing to do with the price of the item I'm buying. Right? So the item that is in question doesn't change prices. Things around it, however, adjust. Right? There's our income. Right? So if I have a very, 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 very well-paying job, then I'm more willing to buy certain things. Matter of fact, has anybody moved into a bigger house in your lifetime? Okay. If you're moving from a smaller house to a bigger house, what ends up happening to all that empty space that you had?
Gets filled up.
It gets filled up with stuff because we buy things. We were able to afford a house, and as is normal, and I have experienced some of this recently. Well, that wall needs a new painting. I'll go get it. Okay. I don't like the cleaning detergent that you're using. I'm like, all right, sounds good. I like the towels, but I like my towels better. Can I go right ahead? What about like we have now gone through HelloFresh? Has anybody heard of HelloFresh?
Mm-hmm.
We've done that. I thought it was kind of fun, but timing that it takes to cook, not as available. So now we're playing with Freshly. We have less time, but we have the need for fresh foods. Right? So let's spend more money. Now, if we were struggling to make ends meet, would we be buying all of this excess food? Probably not, right? And I'll go over that in a second. So income has a big impact. My expectations, has anybody ever heard the phrase quantity over quality or quality over quantity? You can kind of interchange those. If you're shopping at Walmart, what are you tending to look at, the quality or the quantity? Quantity.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can get way more at Walmart than I can get at another brand name store, right? So if I'm buying, or Aldi's would be another one, right? So if I'm shopping at Aldi's, I can probably buy more at Aldi's than I can at Giant Eagle. Has anybody gone grocery shopping on their own the past 2 to 3 months? Has anybody noticed how much more money we're spending on groceries? It's crazy. I'd imagine you're probably hearing a lot. Yeah, because and Mrs. Perry and I were just talking about. Miss Perry and I were talking about this morning, and she said something about inflation and grocery shopping, and I said, I same amount of food I bought just last week. I think in the first 7 or 8 items, I was already at like $75, $80, whereas in the past I'd be at like 50. So I'm easily spending $50 or $75 more on the exact same amount of stuff every time I go shopping. It's crazy. Population will be an easy one when we get to that. It's literally how many people. Demographics is probably my favorite one to talk about, just because we are all so different and we all shop for different things. Right? So if you look about, we'll get to it more there, but it's groups of people and what they buy and how they purchase things. Taste is probably the most influential. So we're going back to that dress, right? So you really like that dress, right? So did the price probably had a little impact in your head, but you were also thinking, it's just too nice. I'm going to pay the extra money, right? Advertising. Who in here has watched those Taco Bell commercials and then had a craving for Taco Bell? They do a pretty good job. They're probably one of the better ones. Especially on like the weekends. Like during the weeks you may or may not, but on the weekends. Now, the only problem with that though is what's going on with Taco Bell. Are they all staying open that late anymore? No, because they can't get people to work. Complementary goods. This one, I think I alluded to this yesterday. Who in here, when I was talking about the trucks, I mentioned gas prices. I was talking about like buying things I like, desire, demands. My desire is to buy this brand new huge truck, but in my head, it's got to be everything on it. Bells, whistles, you name it, I want it all. Because I have everything I've always bought, I've always done like whatever I can afford at the time. So my next vehicle, I want the truck, I want everything on it. The biggest thing that's keeping me from buying that truck is the gas prices. So it's not the truck. The truck I can afford. If I do everything I want, it's probably gonna be around $650 a month if I get everything, maybe $700. I could pull that off, but add gasoline on there, and I'm looking at $1,100 a month just for my vehicle, not including my insurance. Right, so $1,100. Now it makes it a little bit more tight. Right, so it's not the truck; it's the good that goes with the truck. And then substitute goods. We'll talk about that a little more. All right, let's do the first one. We'll skip this. We don't have to worry about that. So we're going to deal with something called the shifting of the curve. So the curve will move depending on the situation, which I'll get to here in a moment with you guys. A couple years back, there was actually a really weird story. It came out in like one of the scientific journals, and it was about cranberry juice. And they had a graph of the demand for cranberry juice pre-article and the demand for cranberry juice post-article. The cranberry juice prices never changed, but after the article, everyone stopped buying cranberry juice for like about a month. And the cranberry juice companies actually were struggling to get by until the journal came out with a revision on their article. So the article stated that cranberry juice causes cancer. That was the article, that was the thing that they had gone with the headlines. And as you read, now if you went just off of that, and that's all you heard, what would happen to your demand for cranberry juice? Plummets. The price hasn't changed, but my curve is going to shift way to the left, right? Now what happened was, if you read through the article, you found out that they were doing this experiment on rats, and they were giving them like 10 lifetimes worth of cranberry juice in like a matter of 2 months. Right? So they were just pumping them through with cranberry juice and all the elements that went with it. So of course it's going to cause some damage to the system, and therefore cancerous cells are going to be created. So once they would put that revision out, then the demand for cranberry juice went back, because they had to come out and say, well, it doesn't cause cranberry juice unless you're eating 10 lifetimes worth of cranberry juice. So all that to say, we are going to deal with a shifting of the curve and how the curve changes or moves. The first one, probably the most, we've already talked about this a little bit in regards to Aldi's or Walmart. Kmart was the precursor to Aldi's. If you're struggling to get by, if you don't have a ton of income, you tend to, I'm not going to say you don't buy the normal or the name brand, but you tend to lean towards the inferior or the generic versions of it. This actually goes back to that income effect. If I give you $500 and say, okay, go grocery shopping, and I send you to Giant Eagle, and you spend all $500, and then the next time I give you $500, you guys go to Walmart and you get the exact same amount of stuff, but you only spend $300. Where are you wealthier? Walmart, because I got $200 left over to do with what I want to. Right? So when we look at, and that's because you can typically buy the Walmart brand for $1, $1.50 cheaper, or whatever the price is. So again, based off of your income, there are times when you buy normal goods, like if you guys get a raise, or when you guys get your first job, and you guys go out and like, oh, I'm buying, I got dinner. Right, come on out, we're going to get some really good pizza. Or if it's a really good job, we're all going to Morton's, which is a really, really good steak place if you haven't been. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this graph. So here's me going over the graph in my head and see if I can get through this in 10 minutes. I believe we can. All right, so we're looking at an automobile. I will allow you to choose whatever automobile you would like to, including anything above $90,000. Has anybody seen this little break in the graph before in math class? If you've not, that allows me to jump. If you notice, I go 0 to 30,000, and then I go by 40, 50, I go by 10s. Right, so that gives me a little leeway on my number starting point. So bottom 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then put that little break in there, and you can go 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So what I want to do is, just by show of hand, I'm going to start with the highest price. The assumption I will make is that you guys are, if you say yes at 90,000, you're probably going to be okay with 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30. So let's start with, I'll go with red. Who in here, with your current income right now, will be willing to purchase a automobile of your choice for $90,000 or above? Looking at probably about $900 a month. Nobody? Okay, so that's a 0. Good. How about 80,000? Anybody? 800? You could probably just put a 800, 700, 600, 500. How about 700 or 70,000? Sorry. We're still at 0 here. Good. How about 60,000? 600 a month? Still 0. That's fine. 50,000. 500 a month. Okay, 40,000. Anybody at 30,000, $300 a month? Potential. You don't have to. Just curious. We got 1, 2. All right, so I got 2 people. Good. And then how about 30,000 or below? Is that, keep your hands up. So I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For our purposes, let's go around 12 and we'll stay about halfway right here. Okay. So our curve.
That's a nice curve.
Yeah, sorry about that little blurb up there. That's our demand right now for a vehicle. All right, so I'm going to adjust the parameters slightly, the situation, the conditions. I'm going to give you guys a job paying $85,000 a year. $85,000 a year. For your information, it's around $4,200, $4,250 per month. You're at home, you don't have to worry about house payments, so you literally have $4,000 of disposable cash every single month to pay. Okay? Now, with that new situation at hand, keeping in mind, again, that's 900, 800, 700, 600, 500, so on. Who would be interested in purchasing that automobile that you were thinking of for $90,000? Okay. Good. How about $80,000? Takers. Okay. How about 70,000?
You know, we got all this money, might as well spend it, right?
Yeah. I got 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm up to 3. How about 60,000? 4, 5, 6. 50,000. 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm jumping in. And how about 40,000? 11, 12, 12, and 30,000. 13, 14. All right, so we got about the same as last time. We'll stop right there. That's pretty good. I think this kind of shows my point. Doesn't prove my point, but it shows it. This is what I'm talking about with the curve, the shifting of the curve. Did the price of the car change? No, your income changed. So my demand can adjust based off of the situation. And when we get to supply, I'm going to talk with you guys about how gas prices have gone crazy since the 90s, because there's a whole bunch of things that have happened that have just shifts the curve and adjusts all of our, skews all the numbers. We'll get to that, of course, later on. And I think I'm going to stop there because I can't get in the next graph. It'll screw things up if I start today and finish tomorrow.
Awesome.